My helicopter was supposed to be the first one back to Howard Air Force Base, right? So we lift off the roof. As we're lifting off, man, there's a sight to behold. I always tell people, I said, you know what it looks like to have a 50 caliber tracer coming at you? It looks like a flaming basketball, man. You're like, and that was when I was in the unit in Panama. And by the way, I just did a docu-series up in New York, and that'll come out first quarter of next year, 2025. And they invited me to come up and speak about that operation from the beginning to the end. In fact, it's called Soft True. And it's like FBI True. It's just a
okay.
Yeah. So, anyways, I talk about Operation Acid Gambit on that one, Grenada, but or Panama. But yeah, Panama. So a little bit about that one, how that happened. So 1989, I was in the unit, and I got an opportunity to go to Special Forces Qualification course to get my Green Beret. So I went through the Light and Heavy Weapons program. So I was gone for about 6-7 months. When I graduated, it was December around 14, something like that, of that year. I come back to the unit, and I find out that they've been training rehearsal for this operation, right, that could happen. And so literally the next day I go out and I go train with my team. We're rehearsing for, this potential operation. And day one, I get fragged, right? Guy throws a flashbang grenade, and I actually get fragged pretty bad. And I end up in the hospital, my crutches and stitches and staples. And so now I'm, offline. And so I'm relegated to staff duty, right? So basically I'm going to be the permanent staff duty officer, until I heal, which could be quite a while. So on December 17th, I'm pulling staff duty, and I get a phone call that night from JSOC, said blue spoons in effect, alert the unit, right on the red phone. So right away, it was my squadron was on alert. I paged them all in. They come running in. The commander, the time Major Harold, General Harold, had just passed away last year. He's my troop commander. He comes in the office. I give him the briefing, say, okay, sir, this is what we got. This, here's the alert. Here's warning, blah, 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 blah. He goes, this is it. We're going to go down to Panama, and we're going to liberate Panama. We're going to rescue Kurt Muse. He goes, this is it. And so I'm standing on my crutches in my suit, and he walks out the door. He stops, turns around, comes back, looks at me. He goes, listen, man. He goes, I would be remiss if I didn't at least, offer you the opportunity to come with us. He goes, this is the Super Bowl. He goes, you're the breacher in the troop, and he goes, I know you've got one wheel left, and you're going through a bad divorce. You got things going on right now. And I was going through a shitty divorce. He goes, but I at least want to ask you. It took about 2 seconds to think about it. I said, I'm going. Right? Fucking yeah, hell yeah, right? So I hobble down to the squadron bay, take my suit off, put my flight suit on, my assault boots, grab my gear, shit, throw it on the trucks. And I'm thinking to myself, the ex can have all my shit. I don't give her. She can have everything. I would just let her have everything as long as I could do this mission,
Yep.
So I go, and we arrive Howard Air Force Base, and we're in Hangar 3 at the Air Force Base. So we're co-located. We got the SEALs with us. We got 23rd, 24th, the Air Force pararescue guys with us, and combat controllers. And now I haven't had a chance really yet to practice on the target. I mean, the first day, the first iteration, the first door on the first room, I get blown up. So, I got hit pretty good. So I haven't rehearsed for this thing. So the first time I'm going to see the target is when I'm on the target. So we're basically prepping our gear. Nobody knows about this invasion. It's going to happen. It just looks like we're just hanging out in the hangar. And we go out and start getting our gear together, zeroing weapons, building breaching charges, things like that. So I remember I got a report from the CIA that said that the door on the annex, which is on the top of Modelo Prison. So Kurt Muse is the guy we're going to go get. He's in the prison. He's on the second floor of this 4-story prison. Modelo brings model. So it's the model prison. It's a new prison they built, right? All high speed and stuff. They got him in there. Who is Kurt Muse? Kurt Muse was a CIA knock. all right, basically acting as a businessman down there, operating as a businessman that just decided he wanted to start a Rotary Club, right? Turns out he was getting donated radio equipment from the CIA in Miami. It's all bullshit, right? Guy was running ops down it, right? And he was running SIGINT. So, so he's there. He gets rolled up. Finally, he gets caught. Okay, him and his guys, because of what they're doing is they're intercepting all of Noriega's transmissions, and then when Noriega wanted to do like a public speech, right? They were able to somehow jam his speech and then insert their own propaganda, anti-Noriega propaganda. Yeah, they were just railroading him left to right.
Yeah.
They finally got caught, and Kurt Muse ended up in his prison. The interrogators, the executioners were instructed, you hear any gunshots, anything goes on outside, go over there and let the air out of this guy, get it over with, right? And so we know all that because we had doctors go in to check his welfare, and he would tell us this, what's going on. So that's how we knew. So we're there December 17th. What we're going to do is an air assault with helicopters come in from the roof, and it's 4 stories. On the top of the building, there's a 10 by 10 annex, right? Just a little building there. Had 1 door on it. According to CIA, had a solid steel door. That was it. Okay, so I'm the breacher. My job's going to be to explosively breach this door so we can get in. And so they give me the door, dimension, type of door. Okay, solid core steel door. So I go in my breaches book. I calculate the amount of charges, the type of charge it's going to be, build all that. My teammates built my firing system, which is basically the fuse igniters that I'm going to connect to the explosives and blow this thing up. Now, what happened? Well, I'll tell you what happened later on that charge. But so we got all that done. We are going to assault at midnight on December 20th, right? That's H hour. And we already have our sniper teams out. They've been out 7-8 hours prior. They're in the jungle. They're watching. And then they start reporting back to go, hey, we see a lot of activity around the prison, so you have the prison, and then right across the street, you have the Comandante, Noriega's headquarters, right? And then all the soldiers, Panamanian Defense Forces, were being housed in all the buildings all around it, right? You had a lot of high-rise and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So, the place was just inundated with Panamanian soldiers. And then you had also the Dignitary Battalion. The Dignitary Battalion was nothing but militia, right? So they were civilian clothes, but carrying AK-47s. So they're all over the place as well. So snipers call back, they report back and say, listen, we see a lot of activity. We see them shoring up the corners. We're putting in machine gun positions, 50 calibers, they're just, they're sent in a bunch of soldiers into the prison. In fact, they augmented the 65 prison guards with like another 65 Panamanian soldiers. So they really plussed that up. So something was definitely off, right? And so when we got that report, we had found out that the mission had been compromised by at least a couple guys that I know for sure. One was a Marine and one was an Army MP. The MP got on the phone, called mommy and daddy, said, Mom, Dad, something bad's going to happen tonight. If I don't see you again, I love you, right? That got intercepted. Mm-hmm. And they got reported back to Noriega. And then an MP went down to the canal. He told all his Panamanian friends, hey, you guys don't need to be here tonight. It's going to get really bad, blah, blah, blah. So these are all what we call OPSEC violations, right? And those are just 2 of probably many. Anyways, that's how Noriega found out about it. And so now what he's trying to do is shore up the defenses around the Comandante and the prison. So with all this activity, all the locals are like, oh, what's going on here? Let's go watch. So they come out there with the lawn chairs, their music, their beer, their cars. And they're expecting the Rose Parade or something, right? And so you got a lot of people out there, and you got soldiers everywhere, machine gun positions everywhere. Now it's like next level operation. So we're like, damn, compromise. What are we going to do? And so the command made the decision. Okay, well, we can't cancel it. We can't roll it 24 hours. We can't do anything. Best we can do is shift it right 20 minutes, so 0020 hours, new hit time. The reason why is because we got about 100 C-130s and C-141s in the air with the 82nd Airborne Division of Rangers flying in right now. So we got a huge radar signature coming this way. If we cancel this, they got to turn around and go back, and the whole mission's compromised. We won't get a second do-over, right? There's no do-over. Yeah. So we're committed. So all we can do is move it right 20 seconds or 20 minutes. So that was the plan. And so, now we had another issue, the helicopters. So we had about 15 helicopters total, right? And when I insert 23 or 26, I can't remember the exact number, I have to look it up, but 23 or 26 guys on the roof. Some of them are going to be support positions. They're going to take up positions on the corners, providing fire support, machine guns, things like that. They're going to engage the guard towers, anybody on the ground level. And then the other guys are going to go in and actually do the rescue, which my team and it was a golf team, Fox team and golf team. We're going to go inside. So we had 4 MH6s, the little birds, right? They have the little people pods on the outside you can sit on. Okay, those will support 2 operators on each side. Now, back in that day, the little birds didn't have the same engines that they have now. Back then, the engines they had were the same engines they used on irrigation pumps, like for farm fields, right? Yeah. And so I was like, so we're like flying in a fucking water sprinkler, right? That's what we're going to fly. And so they didn't have the ACL, the aircraft load wasn't that high, right? Yeah. And we're pretty much loaded for bear. And even then we're still pretty light because we weren't carrying water because we think we're just going to go into prison. So what we had to do is we had to weigh every operator with all his equipment. Now I was the lightest guy at 164 pounds with 70 pounds worth of equipment. I was the lightest guy. Yeah. Okay. And so we put 4 of us on that one little bird. We've already exceeded the ACL. So that means we had to strip weight off this helicopter because we didn't have anything else to strip. When we took the water off, but we needed everything else, which mostly ammo, explosives, cutting tools, torches, and things like that. So what we did then was we started removing everything, the non-essential stuff from the helicopter. We took it out. I was like, sir, what is this? It's my compass. It's your compass. You don't need it. Navigate with the stars. What's this? It's my whatever. You don't need that either, right? So all you need is a steering wheel and a gas pedal, right? So everything else goes out. In fact, 2 of the 4 of the little birds we only had one pilot. We had to take a pilot out too. It's like, you're too fat, get out.
Is there one pilot?
Yeah, so we had 2 helicopters with 1 pilot. The 2 helicopters with 2 pilots, each one of them had 1 pilot get shot. Yeah. Oh my God. So, right. So think about that for a minute. What luck was that, I guess, or bad luck? I don't know. So now we got that sorted out. We got 4 MHs can carry the package in. We had 4 H-6 attack helicopters. I think we had 4 MH-6 also attack helicopters. We had a total of 15 helicopters, a couple Blackhawks, command and control birds. So that was the sortie that's going to go in. And so the flight time was going to be 1 minute and roughly 40 seconds from Howard Air Force Base across the Panamanian Canal, the Bridge of Americas, Ancon Hill. We're going to come through the saddle on Ancon Hill, very low, pop over it. As soon as we popped over it, there would be the commandancy in the prison. Okay. So about 1 minute, 40-second flight time, which is it was amazing that night when I think about it now. But so we load up at about 0:15 hours. We're going to land at 0:20 hours. So we got 5 minutes, 1 minute, 40 seconds, right? Do the math on all that. Where engines are spinning up, locking, cocking. And getting ready to go in. So we lift off, and it was actually I'm sitting here talking about it and thinking about it with you. It was really surreal, man. When I think about it, it was dark. You could see.
That's what I was about to ask. Yeah.
You look off the people pod. You're flying over the military housing area for the Air Force Base. The lights, the civilians. You fly over the canal, it's dark. You see the moonlight shining off you see the Bridge of Americas, and here in a couple of seconds, you can pop over this hill.
And it's go time.
You're flying into the hornet's nest, and Ancon Hill was like 2 hilltops with a saddle. And the snipers were on the other side of the hills looking right into the prison. And we're going to come through this saddle very low and slow. And as we breach this thing and come over the top, I remember, man, that's when the snipers started shooting. Immediately opened up on the guards that are on the street. And that's when all chaos broke out, man. And I remember because of the weight, we still had a lot of weight. We couldn't just come in, flare, and then sit down and sit the helicopter down. We had to come in pretty low and slow and just kind of sink it in on the roof, right? Kind of almost like a controlled crash. And so we were about maybe 5 stories up off the ground and probably doing 40 knots, something like that, not too fast. As we're putting along, trying to get to the prison, as I look down, man, there's just people scrambling everywhere. It's a full-on firefight, man. They're shooting at us. We're shooting at them. People are freaking dying everywhere, running everywhere. Just total chaos. Mm-hmm. And the other thing we had was, so the 193rd Infantry was at Panama also, and they were mechanized infantry, APCs, things like that. Well, because it was Christmas time, most of those guys went back to the U.S. for Christmas. So the only thing that was left was your support guys, right? Chefs, mechanics, cooks and clerks and jerks, right? So they got recruited to drive those APCs with the machine guns on it. And what they had to do is come in and set up blocking positions on all the corner intersections, right? Basically create a perimeter, right? Mm-hmm. Well, because there was so many cars and Panamanian civilians there, right, waiting for the parade, these guys couldn't get in. Well, they could, and they did. They actually just drove over all the cars and shit and drove over everything in the way to get in. So people were getting literally crushed like pizza inside their cars because, we have a saying, there's no spectators in a firefight. And I don't know what makes people think it's a good idea to stand there and watch a firefight go on like you're not going to get shot or run over by a tank. So they're trying to move in. We're coming in, game on, raging firefight. The prison force thought we were going to do a ground assault. So they reinforced the bottom floor. They for sure thought we were coming through the gates, right? That's where they're going to get us. They weren't expecting an air assault, which is actually what we were going to do. So as we're putting along, I remember looking down and just seeing people running everywhere. I'm trying to target, discriminate. Who's got a gun? Who don't have a gun? Who's shooting at me? Who's not shooting at me? And you're trying to watch the prisoners is coming up. Okay, we're almost there. And it's very hectic. And then we got over the prison, and the helicopter just kind of stopped. It started hovering so he could slowly sink it down, right? And as we're sinking it down, I remember looking off I was on the port side of the helicopter, facing outward. And I saw a cluster of maybe 5 women, each of them carrying a couple little kids in their arms. And in this cluster of women, there was a dude in the middle, right? A militiaman. And he was wearing, I still remember, very distinctly, he had on a white Guayabera, blue jeans. He had brown desert or brown hiking boots on. He was about 5'8", about 185 pounds. He had black hair down about here. He's carrying an AK-40S. It's basically an AK-47 collapsible stock on it. And he had it like this, but he didn't have it mounted on his shoulder. He was just kind of holding like this. In between the women, he was trying to back up, and he was watching us. And they were screaming and stuff. And what they were doing is crossing the street. And they were probably maybe 30, 40 meters from me, line of sight, And I could have took the shot. But most likely, if I'd have taken the shot, even if I would have hit him, I would have got a through shot, right? It would have went through his head, probably hit one of the kids or one of the women, right? So it was not a good shot. And I had to think, man, you know what? Is he an immediate threat? Even though he's got the weapon here, he doesn't have it here. And it looks like he's more intent on getting away. So I deemed him not an immediate threat, but I kept my eye on him. As they moved across the street, I don't know how, but my spider senses told me that they're probably going to separate, right? So they went through a cemetery. The cemetery had a wall that was about 4 feet high, and it had an archway to go in. And they were going to that archway, and some reason, maybe it was just a little lucky guess, but I was hoping that women go to the left and he would go to the right, and that's exactly what they did. They went to the left, he button hooked low to the right, was underneath the wall, and then all of a sudden he pops up with the weapon mounted this time, and I was ready for him. So I started opening up on him. He goes down, and about that time, the helicopter lands. And so I grab my breaching charge, I get off, I run to the front, to the annex, to the door. And when I get to the door, I was surprised because, it was a steel door like the FCIA said, but it was also a jail door 6 inches in front of that. So it's 2 doors, right? And so that makes a big difference because what I put on the door charge I use was what we call a linear door charge, right? So it's on a flat stake that's about 3 inches wide, okay, 1/4 inch thick and about 78 inches long. And what I do is on one side I put double-sided sticky tape, right, like carpet tape, so it would stick to the door. Then on the back side would be sheet explosives, right? So I put 2 pounds of C6 on the back, which way overkill, right? And the reason I did that initially when I built the charge, I started thinking, I was like, there's not going to be any good guys on the back side of that door, only bad guys. I need to get in. We got to get that door open. So as I'm calculating the strip, I said, I'm just going to add a little bit more of the P factor, P for plenty. So I put some more on there. Like, yeah, I think that'll do it. I basically put together a nuclear weapon is what I did for a door, right? So I'm glad I did, because when I got there and I saw this jail door, I knew I had a problem.
Yeah.
A potential problem. And why? Because now I'm not going to get a lot of surface to charge contact because of those bars, right? So I got a lot of space where that explosive force has got no pressure
to build. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be, I'm going to lose a lot of pressure, right? But 2 pounds of C6 did the job. Okay. So it still works. So here's what happened. So I placed it on there on the bars. I'm like, well, hopefully it'll do it. I connect the firing system on the bottom that my team had built earlier. I'm not blaming my team for this, but it's all standard stuff that we normally do just to speed process up. They built the firing system. I built the charge, but the charge that what we call was a tail was a little bit too long, right? What is a tail? Basically, it's more dead cord, and you tie it into the bottom of the charge, right? It was too long, is what it was. Physically too long. Wouldn't have normally been a problem. In this case, it turned out to be a problem. So I got it all hooked up. And the other helicopters landing 2 by 2, right? So total 4. So my 2 already left, landed, taken off. The 2 others came in. Guys were falling off the helicopters, going to the corners. They're engaging targets. I'm waiting for the rest of the assault team to line up on this annex. And then I'm waiting for the call from the commander over the radio saying, okay, I have control, stand by, and execute, right? So I'm waiting for the command to breach. So as I'm hanging out there, right, we had a blackout. All the lights went out in the city. We're taking fire from all the high-rise buildings around us now. We're taking from the ground fire. We're taking fire from everywhere. And I'm out there in front of this breaching point, in the open.
Yeah, just standing
there waiting, going, because Jesus Christ, hurry the hell up. I was like, how long does this take, And so I prepped my firing system, and I made an error. On one hand, I made an error. On the other hand, I didn't. It's a learning lesson, right? And unfortunately, I learned that lesson on the target. We never thought of it before. So I had 2 firing systems. We always dual prime is what we call, right? Because one, using Marine terminology, 2 is 1, 1 is none. So we always went 2. So, and each firing system has its own cotter pin in it. It's a safety. And you have to pull each one out, right? And then you pull these plungers to light the things to burn. Well, what standard SOP normally was, we would leave the cotter pins in. We would tape the tails of them up together, right? Electrical tape. And that way I just had to grab their tail and I could pull both out at one time. And then I put my fingers in the rings and pull the rings. Well, when I pull the safeties out, one of them, because the tape came undone because of the heat and humidity, and only one safety came out, the other one was still in there. But I didn't know that because it was dark, flashes of lights, raging firefight. I got flight gloves on, and I thought I got them both out. Now, that wasn't my mistake. That was just SOP. The mistake I made was rather than grabbing each ring and pulling it by myself, I put my finger through both rings and tried to pull them at the same time. Because I got one safety in it, one of those plungers is not going to come out, right? So I'm pulling. So when I get the command to fire, I'm pulling, like, what is going on here, right? And I'm thinking, I pull the safeties out, I got my fingers in the ring, and I pull the rings. So I started thinking, well, maybe I'm just getting too excited, and maybe it's already burning. And by the way, I had an 8-second fuse igniter on it, 8 seconds, right? And so I'm sitting there thinking, all right, I'm already 4 seconds into this trying to figure out if it's burning or not. And I think I did everything right, so it's probably burning, and I probably need to get the hell out of here. Yeah. So I get my finger out, and I drop the firing system on the ground, and it gets caught on my boot because it's too long. And so as I run, I pull the charge off the door, and it falls. Literally, I can see it falling off the door behind me as I'm trying to get around the corner with my team, and lands right in front of the entire assault force, right, on the ground. So I got 2 pounds of C6 laying there, right? And I see it laying there. I turn around, oh shit. And I'm counting 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. And by this time, if it's not going to blow up, it's not blowing up because I've already exceeded 8 seconds. From the time I was on the door trying to figure this thing out to now 8 seconds. So I run back out there. I grab the charge, taking bullets everywhere. I run back up there, slam it on the thing again. I say, hey, Comstock, buy the numbers. So I go back to it again, grab each ring and pull one ring, nothing's happening. Right? Turn in, pull it, nothing. Grab a second one. I could feel that. I was like, yes, that's what it feels like. So it was like having an orgasm. That's how it's supposed to feel, right? And so I knew I had at least one, right? It's burning now. It's good. And so in my haste, rather than running around the safe side of the building out of fire, I exposed myself to fire on the other side. I was such in a hurry. I just wanted this thing to blow up. I don't care if I get killed in the process. Just please blow up, right? So I run around the other side, expose myself to fire, get to the backside of the team. Charge goes off. And damn, it took both doors. That jail door hit the steel door, and both doors together flew the back of the annex, slid down the wall perfectly out of the way. I mean, you could have done it better, planned it better, right? It's like perfect execution. So the P factor did work for me on that day. And then we went in and started clearing the building, looking for him. Now, like I said, the ground floor was reinforced, Panamanians and their security guards, right? And so we're coming down, and you got guys laying in the hallway. They don't want to fight, they surrender, just laying there. And then finally, my other team, golf team, breached the room where Muse was being held, right? And the interrogator that was supposed to shoot him lost his nerve. So he gets up and he runs into like a shower stall, right? And he stands inside the shower stall just like this with the pistol out. And one of the other guys, James, again, James is gone, but so James runs in there after him, right? And the guy's standing there just like this, waiting for him to come through the door, and James got a car 15. 4 times in the chest, kills him right away. The guy never got a shot off. Right?
Yeah.
Drops him just like that. And there's a reason for that too. I talk about a lot of times in my coaching, which is, it's called stress shock phenomena, but it's a very interesting phenomena. But anyways, that guy died because of stress shock phenomena, and he wasn't prepared for what he was going to do. So boom, he takes him out. Kurt Muse is in his cell, and the golf team breacher goes in there, said, Moose, you all right? Yes, I'm okay. He goes, okay. He goes, take this mattress, pull it over yourself, and lay on the floor underneath this mattress. And so his name was Pat. Pat breached the cell door, recovered him, put some body armor, put a helmet on him, and now we're calling for extraction, right? Get the little birds to come back in, put them on it, we're going to fly out. Well, at this point, my team is done clearing our area, and we're like all stacked up in the stairways to go up to the roof to get on the helicopters. And I'm laying like on this flooring. It's kind of like almost like a balcony. And I'm laying on the flooring and I'm engaging targets from that point, right? We're waiting in line to get on the ride.
Yeah,
so I'm going to go have some fun, right? So I'm shooting fish in a bowl, and I'm having at it. And it's pitch black, right? And a lot of noise. And so I hear the helicopters come in and I hear them leaving. And then I'm like, okay, we should be leaving now, right? And I'm laying there and nothing's happening. And then I reach back with my non-firing hand. And I'm trying to feel my teammate if he's still standing there. And I don't feel nothing. So I start sweeping my legs and I realize there's nobody here. They stepped over me somehow and left the building without me, right? So I'm downstairs laying in the hallway by myself.
Popping some shots, yeah.
And the Panamanians are coming up the stairs, right? I can hear them talking, blah, 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 blah. Here they come, right? They're coming after us. And I'm like, oh, shit. Right? So I run up the stairs like a scalded dog, man. And I'm like, please let there be a helicopter out there. Please let there be a helicopter out there. Because otherwise I'm trapped, right? Yeah. I run out, bust out the door, and there they were. There's 2 helicopters still sitting there, right? And thank God, Jesus. So I run over there and I get back I start to get on my seat. And there's another guy sitting there, another operator sitting there. I'm like, that's what I say, And then, and now we're starting to panic because we're thinking we don't have enough seats to get out of here, right? And turns out he was on the wrong helicopter. He's like, oh, wait, hold on. And he runs back to his helicopter. The second one, right? Like, get out of here. So get on my helicopter. I hook in and we lift off. Now, the thing was because of the weight, right? You can't just lift up and fly away. What happens is the helicopter's got to get up just a little bit, and then he'll start running forward. And as he starts driving forward, he'll start getting more lift. He can bring the helicopter up, right? He can't just lift up and fly away. He's got to get a kind of running start because of the weight. Now, Kurt Muse was on the first helicopter, and they had put him in the middle, in the hellhole, right? He had body armor, he had a helmet on, the other guys were on the outside. And what happened was his helicopter because he really couldn't get up and get a running start. What he did is got it up high enough that he could dive off the roof, right, to pick up some speed. And when he dove off the roof like this, is when he took it up the ass, ground fire from the guys on the bottom floor. They just lit him up, man, right? Yeah. So he got hit, goes down the street, not very far, a couple hundred yards, and then goes a hard left turn down an alley, hits a power line, and then takes some more rounds, and then crashes into the street. So those guys, when they crashed, they bounced, and they hit again. And when they bounced, one of the guys, James, the guy that killed the interrogator, he swung off the helicopter. Remember, he's tied in. He swung off his feet, went under the skid. Skid came back down on his feet, chopped his toes off. Two other guys on the other side both got shot through the legs into the chest. And then when the helicopter crashed, it broke with the strut. Anyways, the helicopter sat sideways. The engine was still running. So everybody was basically, at this point, unconscious. Kurt Muse got out of the hellhole. My assistant team leader, Tommy, TC, was laying on the ground. Kurt Muse started to walk into the rotor blades, because remember the helicopter's tipped like this, right? So the rotor blades would have chopped his head off. Tom saw it, so he grabs him, goes to pull him down. When he goes to pull him down, he gets hit in the head with the rotor blade, right? So it chops his helmet off, right? He had a protect helmet, just shaves it off and knocks him out. So he's laying there. Kurt's laying next to him and goes, fuck, everybody's dead except for me. So he grabs Tom's 45, figured he's gonna fight for himself. And by this time, the radio call had already gone back to the armored vehicles, right? We had Delta operators with some of the armored vehicles. And so they knew that the helicopter had crashed with the principal in it. And they maneuvered over there and actually recovered everybody, threw them in the APC. Well, we didn't know that yet. I didn't know any of this. My helicopter was supposed to be the first one back to Howard Air Force Base, right? So we lift off the roof. As we're lifting off, man, it was a sight to behold. I always tell people, I said, you know what it looks like to have a 50 caliber tracer coming at you? It looks like a flaming basketball, man. They're like whoosh, whoosh, you know, and they're going on. I'm lifting my feet and stuff. The things going under my leg. And those rounds were coming from our own guys, because with the 50 calibers, they're just shooting everything up that moved, right? These mechanics and these cooks and stuff, you know. And we're getting, you know, we got rounds going everywhere. But anyways, we finally get off the objective, and we're supposed to be the first helicopter. We're the only helicopter that makes it back. And we land at Howard Air Force Base. They have a J-Mouse set up, which is basically a field medical surgeon, right? And you got all the tents, you got all the doctors, surgeons, everybody standing out there, you know, at the gurneys, and they're waiting for us to show up. They're expecting, you know, some casualty. And we're the only ones to land. So, okay, that's odd. So my team leader goes over, I see him talking to everybody, comes back. He goes, okay. He goes, put a fresh magazine in. We're going to go back in. The principal got shot down, right? And I was like, oh, shit. That's when I really got scared. Mm-hmm. That's when I was like, oh, my God. I just know what we flew out of, and now we're going to fly back into it. I was like, I don't know how we're going to do that. Where are we going to land on top of that, right? So that's the first time the pucker factor went up, because going into it, it was like a training scenario. Because we always trained, like I said earlier, you know, everything was live fire, live ammunition, explosives. Everything that we did was with real bullets, right? And so we even had real role players. We wouldn't shoot real role players though, but you know, we had role players. And so flying in was like a training exercise. Shooting
all the
stuff,
strategy was there, the plan was there.
It was right? Remember I said getting comfortable with being uncomfortable? Well, I was really comfortable because this is a comfortable situation, even though it would be uncomfortable for anybody else. It was comfortable for us. And so it was very surreal going in, because it didn't seem like it was real, even though, you know, you shoot somebody, you'd fall down. It's like, yeah, just a role player. But, you know, you got ketchup coming out, not whatever he's got, right? But then after we left, and now we're going to go back in, that's when it hit you. Like, whoa, shit, wait a minute. You know, that was
how's this going to go?
A little different now, right? So we're sitting there, engines are spinning up, we're getting ready to take off again, and then we can see the red, green strobe lights coming in, and the rest of the force is coming back, all the other helicopters. So we start winding down, and that's when we found out what happened, and Kurt Muse had been recovered. So that was that was really my first real firefight. You know, that's where I popped my real cherry. But it was probably one of the, no doubt about it, the greatest experience of my life. You know, it's indescribable when you train and train and train, and for something like this. And here's the thing. We didn't lose anybody. We had nobody killed. We had a lot of guys get wounded.
Even from the helicopter crash, it was just one.
Wow. Nobody. everybody survived. We had another helicopter get shot down into the commandancy. The pilots got out of the helicopter and walked away. You know, we had a lot of guys get shot, but nobody actually died. And the more amazing part about it only took us 6 minutes from the time we inserted to leave with Kurt Muse on the helicopter.